In the never-ending saga of Britney Spears' Instagram revelations, we've had cryptic captions, mysterious dance videos, and emoji-filled essays that could double as modern poetry. But this week, Britney dropped something completely different. And no, it wasn't a remix of Toxic. It was a bombshell. "Brain damage happened to me." Those were her exact words, and the internet collectively gasped, paused mid-scroll, and whispered, "Wait, what?" The post that broke the internet's brain. Britney shared a seemingly peaceful photo of herself riding a horse, the kind of healing energy picture that usually earns a flood of comments like "Queen of Resilience." But this time, her caption took a sharp emotional turn. She compared herself to Maleficent, yes, the wingless Disney villain who's both terrifying and fabulous, saying she felt like her wings were stolen. Then came the line that hit like a mic drop. "I'm 100% sure brain damage happened to me a long time ago." This wasn't your typical just Britney being Britney moment. She explained that during her infamous 2018 facility stay, the one that happened under her conservatorship, she felt her body and mind were completely disconnected. According to Britney, she couldn't move, couldn't dance, couldn't even feel her own body anymore. And for a woman whose entire existence has revolved around movement, music, and control, that's like Picasso saying, "I forgot how to paint." What Britney says really happened. The pop icon claims this mental and physical collapse dates back to when she was placed in a treatment facility against her will in 2018. For months, she says, she had zero privacy, couldn't close her door, couldn't take a bath alone, couldn't do anything without someone hovering like a helicopter parent with a clipboard. Imagine being one of the most famous women on earth and still needing permission to take a shower. That's not just dehumanizing, that's dystopian. Britney described this time as when her logic and mindfulness were murdered. It's dark, raw, and heartbreaking. But if you followed her story, it's also sadly believable. For 13 years, the conservatorship dictated every detail of her life, from her finances, to her food, to her freedom. Even her career moves were managed like she was a malfunctioning robot instead of a human being. And now, years later, she's connecting the dots, saying that the trauma from that period left lasting damage, not just emotionally, but, in her words, neurologically. So, did she mean literal brain damage? Here's where everyone's confusion kicks in. When Britney says brain damage, is she talking about a medical condition or using a metaphor to describe psychological trauma? The internet, of course, has turned into a panel of armchair neurologists debating this like it's a courtroom drama. On one hand, her description, the inability to move or feel her body, sounds eerily physical. On the other hand, she's always had a poetic, metaphor-heavy way of expressing pain. The woman could probably turn a grocery list into a Shakespearean monologue about healing. So maybe brain damage isn't literal in a hospital scan way, but in a "my soul got rearranged by trauma" kind of way. Either way, when Britney Spears says her brain was damaged, it's not something you scroll past between memes. This is someone describing years of control, surveillance, and emotional suffocation. And if that doesn't mess with your brain, what will? The timing couldn't be messier. Of course, because the celebrity universe loves a bit of chaos. Britney's revelation landed just as her ex-husband, Kevin Federline, dropped his memoir, because nothing says closure like your ex-publishing chapters about your breakdown. The timing feels suspiciously cinematic. Britney posts a vulnerable message about pain and survival, while Kevin releases his tell-all. Somewhere, a publicist is definitely sweating, but Britney's tone didn't sound bitter or performative. She wasn't throwing shade or stirring drama. Instead, she sounded like someone finally unpacking a trauma suitcase she's been dragging behind her for years. Her caption ended on a hopeful note, saying she's moved on and feels blessed to be alive. And that, coming from a woman who's endured what she has, is powerful enough to deserve its own standing ovation. The internet's reaction. The response online was exactly what you'd expect from the internet, a mix of empathy, confusion, and cruelty. Half of Twitter wanted to hug her, the other half wanted to psychoanalyze her. And of course, a few trolls crawled out of their Wi-Fi caves to mock her, proving that the same public scrutiny that broke Britney once upon a time still hasn't learned basic empathy. It's a sad irony that the people who cheered when she broke free from her conservatorship are now ridiculing her for how she expresses that freedom. The woman posts a horse photo with a confessional caption, and suddenly, everyone's a neurologist with a side degree in pop psychology. Maybe, just maybe, we could all try listening instead of diagnosing. The real meaning behind the post. Whether she meant literal or metaphorical damage doesn't really matter. The message is clear. Britney is not the same person she was before the conservatorship. Something inside her changed, permanently, and she's not afraid to say it. It's easy to forget that Britney has been both the performer and the product for most of her life. She was the teenager molded into a global brand, the adult puppet in a billion-dollar machine, and the icon the public consumed like fast food. When the product starts talking about the side effects of being owned, controlled, and displayed, people get uncomfortable because it forces us to ask the ugly question, were we part of the problem? Maybe what she's really saying is that the same system that made her famous also broke her, and surviving that is its own kind of miracle. Healing, but make it pop culture. In typical Britney fashion, she still finds light in the darkness. Her words weren't just despairing, they were also reflective, even defiant. She said she's moved on, feels lucky to be alive, and is focusing on peace. Translation: she's still standing, still dancing, sometimes with knives, and still posting. And honestly, maybe her dancing videos aren't breakdowns at all. Maybe they're her reclaiming control, moving her body again after years of not being allowed to. When you think about it that way, every spin and twirl is a middle finger to the control she endured. So let her dance, let her twirl, let her heal however she wants. She's earned it. What Britney's story says about all of us. Britney's confession isn't just celebrity gossip, it's a mirror reflecting how our culture treats mental health, fame, and autonomy. For decades, we've watched her like she's a reality show instead of a real person, and when she finally tells us she's damaged, maybe literally, definitely emotionally, we act shocked, like we didn't see it coming. But think about it. 13 years of being told when to eat, when to sleep, when to perform, even what to think. You can't treat someone like a robot and then expect them to reboot as a normal human being. The conservatorship may have ended on paper, but emotional imprisonment doesn't just vanish with a judge's signature. So when Britney says brain damage happened to me, she's also saying, you can't survive what I did and come out untouched. It's not weakness, it's honesty. So, what's next for Britney? Whether she meant neurological trauma or emotional scars, one thing's for sure, Britney isn't hiding anymore. Her post wasn't a cry for help, it was a declaration of survival. She's acknowledging what happened, processing it in her own way, and reminding everyone that healing isn't a straight line. It's messy, weird, sometimes confusing, and occasionally involves horseback therapy and villain metaphors. Maybe she'll elaborate on it in a future interview, maybe she'll turn it into a song, or maybe she'll just keep posting cryptic captions until the world learns to stop overanalyzing and start empathizing. Either way, she's still here, still shining, slightly bruised maybe, but beautifully unbroken. So, what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I always read them, and I really want to hear your take on this one. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like and make sure to subscribe. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and remember, even when life steals your wings, you can still ride off into your healing era.